Hello and welcome back to the pod. Welcome back to the cast, the Future Web3 podcast, where each week we talk about all things to do with Web3 and AI. My name is Eric, and I'm here with my co-host and business partner, Aleck. And this week we're going to be discussing marketing in Web3, and not marketing in Web3 in the sense that how to get your Web3 project marketed to other people who are involved in Web3. More so, how do you get your traditional business marketed to the Web3 community, because that community is growing, and based on current prices of things, they got some deep pockets.
Yeah, and I think that community's hungry for real, like something a little more real. So when they see brick and mortar businesses that are embracing Web3, I think there's a lot of attraction for them.
Oh, definitely. Well, and this is something that I want to use as an example tonight, and it's a little bit of old news, like it's coming up on a year now that this news broke. But Ford filed 19 trademarks for everything from NFTs to a full-on NFT marketplace in regards to their designs, names, trademarks, things like that. Earlier this year, we saw Porsche do that as well, and it was an okay project launch. I think the way that they went about it was in a traditional NFT hype train kind of way, but they missed the boat by 8 months. But interesting to see that Ford is still going down that route by filing those patents.
It's a good idea because looking at NFT specifically, it's a collector's marketplace basically. Everybody I personally even I'm sure he's watching, he knows a good friend of ours who is in NFTs heavy. He's a collector. That's his thing. That's what he likes. So it's kind of a natural for him to go that way. Now mirror that over to the Ford side and the type of owners that they have. They have a lot of classic cars, like, say like the Ford Bronco, the Mustang. They have a lot of vehicles that have a cult following, that, a collector's type following. So it's a natural move. I think somebody who owns like a 69 Mustang is going to be trying to get the 69 Mustang NFT. So it makes sense.
Well, exactly. And like, important thing to remember is when you're going into Web3 for your marketing, you're not throwing out the playbook and you're starting from scratch. Because if you just take a quick Google on marketing in Web3, you're going to find like Discord and Twitter, or X now. That's where you're going to. And while that's where you can go to get a lot of blockchain and crypto projects off the ground, that's not what we're really talking about today. So today, want to give some examples, and we're going to continue on the Ford as an example, and we're going to brainstorm some ways that they could possibly use Web3 and the real community-based aspect of Web3 marketing in their business.
Yep.
All right, so the first example that let's dive a little deeper into is the NFT marketplace. Now, personally, I see this going one of two ways. So number one, an NFT marketplace for your existing vehicle. So you own 1969 Mustang, you can go buy the Ford official version of your car as an NFT. What do you think about something like that?
Yeah, and it goes back to that point about the collectors. Like they're going to be all over that. I mean, these are the same type of guys who are out buying, their T-shirts and all that type of stuff. So, yeah, it's a natural to build that piece. And again, that's going to give you access to, or that's going to give you the digital metaverse version of your car. Because obviously, if you own it in the real world, you want to own it in the digital world too. So makes perfect sense. And then it extends beyond that, right? Like you can use, there's all the attributes of the car that you can attach to the NFT, and then, could build it off from there. But that NFT can have a lot of information associated with it. So when you pass it off to the next person or sell it or whatever, all that information goes with it.
Well, exactly. And I think that leads very nicely into the next idea that I have where they could implement this is when you're buying a new vehicle, at the end of any car buying process, it's the options. Mm-hmm. And why not get a digital version of the vehicle that you're ordering right now? So that will have all the data of the car that you have right now. It'll be from Ford officially, and it's tied in creation date to the same creation date of your vehicle itself. So as the metaverse grows, do you not see the value of these growing along with it? Like the next generation's already grown up with NFTs. NFTs have been around for years now at that point. It feels very strange saying that. But the digital world is coming, whether we want it or not. So why not have an actual digital representation that is a genuine copy, like a certified stamp copy of you actually do own this.
Yeah, I know personally, if I go out there and I'm buying my, Mustang GT, Cobra, Shelby special edition. Yeah, I want to know, especially at pre-order, I want to know when it's getting built on the line. I want to know, and when it's getting shipped. I want to, and then, down the line, I want to know, here's when all the service work was done on it. Here's like when I swapped out the tires and stuff like that. All that stuff I think you want to record and have. But and now think of it, there's that side of it where it's like I just want to have all that data. But then say it's just a regular, I got my Ford minivan or whatever, and I'm in an accident or something, and I need, maybe the tires weren't swapped out and stuff like that. So there's kind of the insurance side of it as well. Now, not so great for me as the guy who owns that car, but switch perspectives to the guy I crashed into. That's pretty good to have that information, be able to settle here's the service record that backs up what happened, what's going on with that car. So all different ways you can look at it.
Well, I really like that. Like that's a whole other approach to take it. It's not even from the collector side. It's the data driven side, because we all have those books in our glove box, like the service history books, and you are supposed to keep records of all your service. And I know I do. Like I have meticulous records of everything, but my wife, before meeting her, she has no records of anything. Like she's like, yeah, I do it, but I don't keep any receipts. I don't keep anything. Like, yeah, I did it. Like, I'll do it again when the thing beeps at me, when it tells you to do it. And so, like, that's a very interesting way to think about it.
Yeah, it's funny. It's a bad example for me because I'm a little, I'm like your wife, a little less. I got records in there, not a lot, but I've got some records. So it's that system is not great for me. But if you think of it from the greater good perspective, just having access to that data, it's just so multifaceted. You have the collector side, so the fun piece of it, and then there's more serious elements too that you can take advantage of.
And that can definitely, I see that affecting the value of the vehicle itself. Like
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, you can see how often it was serviced. Like you can see all that information. And I know with high-end vehicles, like they already have it. I'm going to use Porsche as an example, where you can see anytime it's been over-revved in the computer system. So like when you're selling your car, you can check and see the over-rev report and see if you did break that vehicle a little bit. You know what I mean? And so interesting to see if Ford does that, take that approach.
Do you know how accessible is that type of data? Like, do you have to go to a Porsche dealer to get that, or does a shop that has, say, like a little code reader type thing, are they able to get that?
That's a very good question. I know I'll look into that a little bit more myself after this cast, but let us know in the comments and everything. Like if you know right away, save me a little time.
But hey, either way, I guess what the question kind of gets to is like, if you have that NFT capability, it's out there in the public space. So it's pretty easy for, when you're doing that exchange, pretty easy to dig in and get it. Like assuming once you've provided that information.
Yeah, because if I'm going with my gut, they have that Porsche has a lockdown. Like everything is locked down.
I would assume so. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, the last little point I want to touch on, I think this one is going to be the funnest version and the most adoption right off the bat. And I really do think rewards programs opportunities in Web3 is going to be huge. Like, how do you see?
Well, it's the ability to track, because I think like basically every rewards program I can think of it's just based on like it's how many times do you visit our store, how many times do you use our service, and blah blah blah. So I was thinking about this the other day. So I went to a chip truck. And, I got a poutine and all that. And they gave me a little card after, and they stamped it and said, it was ridiculous, like after your 12th visit or something, you get one free. It's like, okay, thanks, guys, but that's great. But I was looking at the stamp, and I was thinking, it was just like a happy face stamp, it was nothing special. I'm like, what's stopping someone? And I'm sure it happens. Just go to the dollar store, buy a happy face stamp, boom, 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 and get your free one. So that's the immediate use case for that type. But obviously most programs are a little more intricate than that, but it's the same type of thing of they still face issues with digital spoofing and social engineering and things like that. So it's not an unusual problem, but blockchain's going to fix a lot of that, because it's going to verify, yes, without a shadow of a doubt, you were here, you purchased that product on this date this time,
Yeah. And how I like to build on that, it's not only the trust side of things when it comes to this marketing, it's also the action side of things. So I see it as advertising on blockchain is going to turn into like the Instagram contest, follow, tag 3 friends. Like those marketing events pay off are, generally speaking, some of the best dollar for dollar ways to get more traction to your website for people who actually are going to use their website. So you have a customer I like beer, you like beer. I see that the brew pub here in town has a contest. Win a free case of beer and whatever, a barbecue. Tag 3 friends that might like us. I'm going to actually tag 3 people that might like that, because I'm not going to tag someone who doesn't drink. I'm going to tag someone who likes beer, who might be in the area. And so the type of targeting ads I'm doing, I'm doing their market research for them.
Yeah.
And that's something that the blockchain is going to do, tie it back to a rewards program. Hey, you can enter this contest if you do this. That's how you're going to get your new target market.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's that data piece again. I mean, and this comes up so much now, because everything's about data, across any industry, and all new technology. It's about how much data you can get, and but the question always is, what can you actually do with it? And I think it's more often you're starting to see those types of insights being drawn. I think. And on paper, we talk about it right now, how it's oh yeah, I can just take all that and grab that information and start marketing this new group. But there's so much more to it. There's a real data science and a data processing piece behind all of that. So this is really going to open up the capabilities for that. But you also have to ask yourself as a business, do I have that capability in house, or not say take the capability out of, do I have the time in house to sit there and deal with a lot of it? And that's kind of where we kind of come in as someone who can help with things like that, and not necessarily take that responsibility over, but we can at least get you in a position where you can leverage, with the amount of time you have or the resources you have, you can actually go out and do something with that data.
Yeah, because with marketing, you need to have a return, an active return and a measurable return on any dollar that you spend there. And still to this day, we have conversations with businesses who spend the money, spend $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 buying leads, and they have no idea how successful those projects are, because all they know is that their people are making phone calls and that they bought the leads and their sales went up. They don't know if their sales went up from these leads. They don't know how many conversations. There's an absorbent amount of businesses that are still functioning that way, that this is just an expense. I need to spend this money, but I have no idea where these leads actually come from. Now, jump that over the blockchain. You can track and see where everything actually comes from.
That's right. That's funny. That's a topical one for me right now, actually. But it's so true though. You need to have that information, that insight. So that's there's a result of your data analytics. You need to have that, or else you're just not. You can measure your return on investment at a high level as okay, yes, all the stuff that I'm doing has yielded revenue. But you really got to drill down to understand what piece of that yielded the revenue. Because most businesses are going to have marketing verticals that are, probably 7 or 8 things that they're working on, like putting out content, blah, blah, blah. But without really understanding what's the revenue generator, you can't focus your costs, or you can't focus that limited budget that's normally put towards marketing. Well, most businesses, at least, very limited budget put towards marketing. You can't get the best bang for your buck out of it. So, blockchain's going to put that right in front of you. And this is something, again, this is something you can start to do now. You don't have to wait for, a specific product or anything. You can start to use some of this technology now. And at the very least, you can set up some of the groundwork for it. But it's going to be table stakes in the next few years for sure.
Oh, definitely. Another, like building off this as well, another way that I can see blockchain reward programs really taking off is if you do certain tasks. So blockchain right now is very task driven. If you do certain tasks, like you invite this many people, you go in for your tire rotation every so many months, all these little tasks that you do, you gain points and reward points. And then you can change those reward points into rather accessories for your next purchase, maybe free service visits or discounted service visits, maybe it's discounted tires, anything like that to facilitate the next purchase. And you can clearly see using the blockchain, and when these reward tasks are executed, you can clearly see that they were executed, and then you have all that data as well.
Yeah, and I bet some people listening right now are thinking, oh, well, it's system I got now does that. It's a central database, works fine, does all the stuff you're talking about. Why do I need blockchain? And again, it comes back down to that verification piece, because mind you, a lot of the examples that we're given are kind of high level right now, just to make it simple. But when you start to deal, especially companies that have more complex products and services, where there's more, it's harder to trace. This is where you're really going to want. This is most applicable, especially in the early days before it just becomes mainstream. And then on the other side, you have the whole data piece, right? Like it's the cost to actually maintain that data. And with blockchain, you can start to distribute that cost over existing computing power that you have and things like that. So there's a cost element to it, but I think we're really focused on utility right now.
Well, exactly, yeah. And because the fixed costs associated with blockchain right now, I believe, are going to be exponentially reduced with the increases in AI. Like you see AI, you see the hardware that's coming out, how much data they can process. You think that it's not going to be able to solve blockchain problems like this in the future? Like the biggest cost driver right now is the real world costs and the real world rewards associated with blockchain.
Yeah.
AI computers will be able to do that in no time, so fast that we can't even fathom how fast it is, thus reducing friction, reducing costs.
Yep.
Well, based on what we've seen here in these three examples with Ford, do you see any other real world examples today that you can use blockchain in?
Yeah, I would see I look at virtually every big movie theater chain has their loyalty reward system, right? And it's very multi. This is a great example as a slightly more complex one, because you have like the movies, but you have concessions, and then you have a lot of them. If you look at them closer, like they have a lot of little games and promotional stuff that all feeds into their loyalty program. So that's a great one where, sure, a big say AMC or a big operator like that, they could take advantage of that quickly. But what about a smaller operator that has a small, say like a local theater that does lower, not non-blockbuster movies, let's put it that way. And there's a bunch of them, especially in like medium-sized cities. It's not an uncommon thing. It's, if take a look, see, you might even be surprised. Might be some good movies on there to check out. But that's a great case, because that's somebody who needs to build up a community. Which, you can follow me here. It needs to build up a community, needs to get out in the market, and needs to have some way to keep people coming back, and needs a fairly inexpensive yet non-exploitable way to do that. And again, it's going back to my poutine example, where Buddy stamping his smiley face thing. So you need something to do to achieve all that. So that'd be a fairly low barrier to entry way for somebody like that to do that, to build that program right away.
Oh yeah, and again, Web3 marketing in Web3, all community based. You are marketing to a small community-based theater. You have a rewards program that earns you popcorn bucks, that gets you free popcorn or movies or whatever. If you invite your friends, so you start inviting your friends, and then they invite more friends, and that's how you grow that market. Now, you as the little theater have some money to spend on marketing. Who are you going to send to? Those people on the list. You're just dropping popcorn bucks into their account. You're dropping your own credit and the token that they can only redeem for products that you sell at your business. You're not giving them money. You're not paying some influencer. Like, you are building out your own list for your Web3 group.
And I think my favorite part about that for a business, like keeping with the theater example, is when we were talking before about the data, having all this data available and having time, we don't have the time and the resources to actually process. And definitely somebody running a small theater like that does not have the time for that. But welcome to the gig economy, the Web3 gig economy. So you can go to Fiverr. You could go find somebody who does that big data analytics, likely for a big company or professionally full time, as just looking for some side work. And you can hire them. They can take that and imagine how quickly they'd be able to take that and process and give you some real insights to work off, just through simple email. Here you go. Here's what here's what's trending in your blockchain right now and in your community, and you can respond immediately with that. And it's inexpensive, easy way to get it going. It's so tough to build revenue and build a community in this market because there's just so much competition. That's a great way to just set yourself aside and very easily build that.
Well, exactly. Because what you want to do is you want to attract the right customers.
Yeah.
And circling back to who are the people in crypto right now, they're people who are on the cutting edge, who maybe have some more free time on their hands if they're very successful in that. And they tend to have some deep pockets. And with the cost of doing any transaction on the blockchain, like we've all seen the price of gas on the blockchain, it's very expensive to do transactions on some of those chains. So if you get marketed something like, I can go see a movie for $10, $15, and yes, I'm going to go do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially if I get some free things as well. Yeah. But I like those two examples and everything for how we see marketing going in Web3 now. You don't have to wait to start implementing these things, or at least start having these planning sessions on how you can implement a rewards program without spending hundreds of thousands of dollars or $1 million on a rewards program, building out an application. All these things, you can implement it on the blockchain because there are more people than you think that are adopting this every day.
Yeah, I just love how it makes that something like that so accessible, because I know a lot of our the clients we've worked with, like, who have those programs, you go to a third party to run that, manages that for you. Like, very rarely would anyone ever do that in house. Very, very rarely, unless it's small, unless it's very simple. Like a brewery, for example, who would do it. Like, they might do it internally because it's fairly simple. We sell beer. That's pretty much it. My different flavors, but that's it. So that's maybe a bit easier to do there. But as soon as you start to add in a little bit of complexity, multiple products or a product in a service mix, almost always that's going out to somebody else. So now you don't have to do that. You can do that in-house. You save lots of money. You own it, and you own the data.
Owning the data is the number one piece, because when you do hire out your social media, and we hire out social media managers and everything, the data isn't always yours. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of times it's the social media managers, unless it's in the agreement, and it does cost more to own all that data, which is something that you have to consider.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you again for joining us this week on the Future of Web3 podcast, where we talk about everything Web3, AI driven, and how you can implement that into your business today. So join us again next week where we chat again. Thanks again for joining us.
Thanks, everybody.